This is over 1 million Jewish people. And as a religion, these are leaders of the world. And they are focused on an antichrist who's telling them they have to practice satanic worship. They must carry out rituals that are against God. And then, because he does all these undivine things, every undivine thing, and it's literally doing, like sex with your children. That's not with God. That's against God. I'm talking masses of Jewish people lived this way, took this, wrote books, lived this way. And now we have the Illuminati. Now we have a group of situations where World Bank, the holders of diamonds, people who own all the diamonds, people who own things like you cannot imagine. What's behind it? So back in the 1600s, there was a guy, all the Jewish people are like going crazy, they missed the Messiah, right? That's not right. That's not good, but they did. And they spend all their time denying. They don't even like to say the name. Yeah, you go to Jerusalem and ask people, what's Jesus' brother's name, what is any teachings of Jesus you might know of, no. They hardly know a period of time. They know nothing, yeah, because they're so distinctly in the process of having denied God at the moment. Literally. This is a very powerful process because they were in the process of being the chosen people that the Messiah will come from. Yeah? And that's an illusion. There's no such thing. The Messiah comes from everywhere, from every walk of life. The Messiah started off as a freaking fish. You really think he's interested in being just a noble incarnation of a specific cultural entity that comes from a specific group of people? Like, any group of people. Other than the fact that the Messiah is the incarnation of the time. And he might incarnate in India, he might incarnate in America, he might incarnate in China, might incarnate in Africa, might incarnate anywhere at any given time. Yeah? And that process is that the Messiah is always here. But in our process, we have expectations of this Messiah, the coming of the Messiah. Yeah? So if you're Hebrew, oh my God, your expectations are overwhelming. And you get to the place to where you actually have specific manifestation power beliefs that you will bring the Messiah into the world by conjuring the Messiah, by using demonic angels, good angels, whatever. Yeah, and they began writing books and beginning enormous changes within Judaism in order to bring about the coming of the Messiah, quicker and quicker and quicker. And this is 1600, yeah, 1600. Before 1600, there were many of them who thought that they were close to being the Messiah. They changed many of the Torah, many of the relationships of what was to gain purity within the Hebrew reality, because that was their big thing. They knew they were impure. They knew they were connected to Cain. Yeah, this is a horrible thing. Yeah, you really want to clean that up. You don't want to go one way when you're on the other path and you're not sure which one you're on. Well, the difficulty is that they took the wrong one, the wrong path. They lost Jesus. Yeah, went through that process. Then they start conjuring to create messiahs. So then they start changing the Hebrew Torah and its relationship. And they get to 1666, 1666. And the false Messiah appears. And this is him.
Sabbatai's adherents planned to abolish many ritualistic observances because, according to the Talmud, holy obligations would no longer apply in the Messianic time. Fasting days became days of feasting and rejoicing. Sabbateans, as they called themselves, encouraged and practiced sexual promiscuity, adultery, incest, and religious orgies. Sabbatai Zevi's messianic claims were rejected by the leading rabbis of Jerusalem, as well as the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire, who offered to behead him if he didn't convert to Islam, which he immediately did. Sabbatai's formal conversion to Islam really dismayed many of his followers, to say the least, but those who continued to be loyal to the Sabbatean movement took it as a sign to also convert to Islam, while secret.
All right. Now, get that in your head for a minute. Let that just seep into your head, you know? This is over 1 million Jewish people. And as a religion, these are leaders of the world. Yeah? Jewish spiritual leaders of the world. Yeah? And they are focused on an antichrist. Yeah? Who's telling them they have to practice satanic worship. They must carry out rituals that are against God. They must. And then it explains, because he does all these undivine things. Every undivine thing, and it's literal, that, doing, like sex with your children. That's not with God, yeah? That's against God, yeah? But it's in their thing. I'm talking masses of Jewish people live this way, took this, wrote books, lived this way. And now we have the Illuminati. Now we have a group of situations where World Bank, the holders of diamonds, people who own all the diamonds, people who own things like you cannot imagine. What's behind it? You just saw the lady wearing horns. Yeah? And the little ceremonies that go on there. Yeah? That's what happens when you're so rich. You think that you rule the world, and the president is nothing more than a person you elect, not the people. You actually manipulate the people to elect the president. That's how witchy, crafty these people are. Witchy, crafty. Does that make sense? Yeah? Where we have the ability to build pyramids. Yeah? We have the ability to do the things I teach. Temples and healings and everything. But when you go the wrong direction, you have the ability to build soullessness inside of human beings and conquer their souls, take their souls, create capitalism under the illusion of the future. It will be communism in the future. Yeah? Check this out. I know this is always fun stuff.
Most people have heard of Jesus Christ, considered the Messiah by Christians, and who lived 2,000 years ago. But very few have ever heard of Sabbatai Zevi, who declared himself the Messiah in 1666. By proclaiming redemption was available through acts of sin, he amassed a following of over 1 million
How many Jews do you think were on earth? I mean, 1666 probably had about 11 billion people on the planet. Maybe 5 billion? All planet? And yet there are millions singularly in service to the Antichrist. And all these people are committed to carry out sex magic and money magic for the rest of their lives. To carry it out. Yeah? And to carry out ceremonial magic, which would mean that they would call themselves Jews. Call themselves Jews and separate themselves from humanity. Those are not Jews. These are inhumane beings. Not real. Yeah? They're the children of fallen angels. Yeah? They're what's going to be burnt up in hell. Now that's what that is their belief system. So that gives them no conscience of how they treat you. No conscience whatsoever. Because it's all about them. And they won't tell you this shit. They won't tell you this. But it is just plain ass the truth. And it's not about being Jewish. It's about hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Millions of people joined this situation. Millions of people began incestual relationships and homosexual relationships by the millions overnight. And guess what happened? They all became Muslims, not Jews. You just heard it. Overnight, millions of people became Muslims. Millions. Well, there weren't that many Muslims, but then there were. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. And that's so anti-God. So anti everything they've been told, that here they are special and all this stuff, you know. And he was threatened to have his head cut off. But millions of the rest of them decided that they would do it because he was the Messiah. What he does, we do. Yeah. So they all thought that it was a sign. And that's his teaching. So now we're Muslims. So there are all the people, almost every single person that was known as a Jew has done this in their previous lives. But in all truth, I don't want to rattle your brain too much, but in all truth, we reincarnate, and we do not reincarnate in the way that you think you do. If you're a Jew, you don't reincarnate as a Jew. You don't. Yeah. I've got books after books after books where I really believe you all should read. And out of Virginia, at the psychology department of the study of reincarnation. Yeah. Psychology department, University of Virginia. Yeah. And they have at least 30 books from the research of people, young children, adults, all these people who go through a process. Yeah, and usually it's hypnosis and past life regression. But it works, and some people are very susceptible and open to it, and their past life comes back. And it really shocked an enormous number of people, especially the people who read the books. But the people who went through the experience was that they were in Krakow. They were Jews, and they were in Germany. And they were dying, and they were suffering. And while they're suffering, they're going, oh, we have gone through this for so many ages. I am Jew, and I'm so sad. They always do this to me so all my lives, And that's what they're thinking while this is going on, And it's a horrible thing. I'm not saying anything about that. But what I am saying is that the subconscious mind of thinking is wrong. Is wrong. You're not a Jew. You're no more Jew today than you're going to be after you die. Because when those people sat down and went in and began their process of externalizing their past lives, and they find themselves in Holocaust, but yet they're Presbyterians, Lutherans, little white boys and girls, little black boys and girls, just like Michael Jackson, he ends up as a black boy. You do not have any control over this thing. Do you understand? You think you have knowing. You have no knowing at all. And you need to have knowing. You need to know God exists. You need to know goodness is important. Kindness is superior to all other forms of ways of being. Being kind to yourself, being kind to another person, being kind to animals, being kind to all things. Yeah? So it's a very simple world. It's really simple. Yeah? Except that we have this going on. We have a subconscious area, and we have witches and warlocks, and sometimes they disguise themselves as priests and a religion. In reality, it is a cult of black magic. And they're messing with us. They're calling demons onto earth, and they keep reincarnating. Yeah? And they affect us. Lunar lords come out of these people, and they keep coming back. And they honestly believe that they are the superior race. All these, like Trump, he believes that he's the superior race, and that's it. And he's got his little superior son-in-law, who's the king of Jews. I mean, give me a break. Little Herod reincarnated. Yeah, isn't that just great? Little Caesar reincarnated. Isn't that just great? Yeah, and you get to have them in the same home. Yeah, and that's reincarnation, and that's the life we live. We are not wiping these people out. We do not know anything. We have no idea that sex magic and money magic and cruelty to children. These people are by their own ways, by their own needs, their desires, their perversions. They carry these acts out without it being a ceremony, because it's been going on all the ways since I just showed you. This is millions of people who chose to begin adultery. Yeah? To begin perversion. Saying it's what we got to do. Yeah? We have to have large mass sex. 8, 10 people. And that's the same thing was going on in Rome. Same thing was going on in other places. So now it's inside the Jews. And they're doing it with their Messiah, telling them to do it. Yeah? Watch the rest of this.
Passionate believers. As I said, about half the world's Jewish population during the 17th century. And although many rabbis at the time considered him a heretic, his fame extended far and wide.
So that's not just them. This is a relationship that goes really deep. Let's see, let me get the rest of this. Go ahead. Just a second, because I want you to see this. It was worth seeing. They have a little bit in here. It talks about the relationship where sex magic comes into it. You saw the pictures where the guy that's killed himself, and Elaine Maxwell and Clinton and all of that, and all of that is an off branch, yeah. And you saw the guy that was in Turkey, that has all these sexy ladies that's been all made up. Did you see that? Yeah, you didn't see that? Oh man, I gotta show this to you because it's crazy. Because what happened was that these demons are being caught right now, and they've never really been caught before. And they're being caught. And this one guy I'm going to show you, put in prison for 1,000 years. Who lives 1,000 years? I mean, he was put in prison. They don't like him at all. I think this is it. Yeah.
According to the Talmud, holy obligations would no longer apply in the Messianic time. Fasting days became days of feasting and rejoicing. Sabbateans, as they called themselves, encouraged and practiced sexual promiscuity, adultery, incest, and religious orgies. Sabbatai Zevi's messianic claims were rejected by the leading rabbis of Jerusalem, as well as the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire, who offered to behead him if he didn't convert to Islam. And mystical occult practices which included religious orgies and sex magic and sacrifice. His followers are known today in Turkey as the Dolmen, which translates to religious convert, a derogatory term which they themselves never used. And so the Lurian Kabbalah became a mystical synthesis between pagan or esoteric teachings which preceded the Torah and Gnostic elements of Judaism. Many texts pertaining to the Kabbalah, including the Zohar, say that the task is not to destroy evil, but to return it to its source. To put it simply, to include the left within the right in a Zoroastric metaphor, or to uplift the fallen sparks in the Lurianic one.
So if you look at that, if you read it, it says this cat is from Turkey. I had to go to Turkey for a little visit, and in process, I come to find that I have been from Turkey. Many lives, many lives. I was in Turkey, and I was really happy. You know, I mean, extreme happiness and joy and peace. And so when I was there, I was really having a great time. I didn't leave the airport, you know, I spent all my time in the airport. But nevertheless, I was high on Turkey, you know. And so, I knew nothing about Turkey hardly at all. And when I got back, I started looking into it, and I found out that there was an enormous amount of evil in Turkey. And it's sex magic and money magic. And it's an enormous laundering process, you know, for people to launder money or do all kinds of illegal things and get away with it. And Turkey has changed. It flipped itself completely around. And now it's taking out everybody who, I don't care if they were an ex-king or anything, you have nothing that keeps you out of trouble. Yeah, you can go to prison. This guy went for 1,000 years. Prison, you know, him and along with about 20, 30 other people. And right now I'm in process of doing cleansing in Turkey, which I have no interest in doing this shit, you know, but that's what I'm doing. And I'm in a quite a process of investigating, researching, and working with their process of sex magic and money magic. And I'm cleansing the root of evil, money. Yeah. So if this gets worked through and comes out the other side, the devil is really having deep shit happening. You know, because this can't happen. You know, the Lord Jesus Christ cannot have stuff that's happening right now. You know, enormous amounts of funds coming my way. That is not supposed to be happening, which is what's happening. Yeah. So this process is not about Judaism. It's about the subconscious mind that draws us into the devil, the dark lodge, the dark places, that is seducing us. And it goes back to the beginning of time, the fallen of angels and everything. Everybody's being used. And in my process, I'm going to heal that. And you have no idea how it's being done, but it's done through my sciences. Yeah. And I have invocation, evocation. I do my pujas, I do my prayers.
Rabbi Isaac Luria,
They have the opposite.
the Ari, or Aryan lion, and his Lurianic Kabbalah resulted in a grafting of the then current theories of the Kabbalists onto the traditional Jewish view of the role and personality of the Messiah. This new philosophic paradigm, in the estimation of many scholars, provided a spiritual justification for proactive Zionism, and therefore the events that directly brought about the modern formation of Israel, which incidentally did not start in 1948 with the War of Independence, but a century earlier with the German Messianic settlers known as the Temple Society, or Templars, who supported the nationalist German party of the 30s.
Yeah. So what we're seeing is a fulfillment of a large cult reality in layers, whether it be the, the Zion reality, or their relationship of German and their Aryan reality and their belief systems, and the Templars in relationship to the Germans and the Aryan reality, and the Catholic Church. It's layers, layers upon layers upon layers, and it's all about Christ. And their process is actually making manifest the Antichrist and all the activities inside of humanity that's bringing them further and closer to Muslims, to perversion, to homosexuality. Does that make sense? Yeah? Because we're not really going spiritual, We're not building monasteries or anything like that whatsoever. Yeah? It's like that's the silliest thing you'll ever talk about. It's like talking to some physicist. They'll just go, God? Come on. Let's talk about something that's worthwhile talking about. I mean, that's just fantasy. Yeah, that's how far we are in the knowing. And that knowing comes from the Dark Lodge. The Dark Lodge is lower mind. Lower mind is the process of knowing. When you're in lower mind, you're stuck, your pride, your ego, you're stupid. And stupid is as stupid is. You do as stupid do. You can't change it. If you're an idiot, you're a blithering idiot. You can't change it. You blither. It is your nature. It's the character of an idiot. And if you're stupid, you're going to do stupid things. You're going to say and do stupid things. So we're literally being deadened intellectually by seeking intellect rather than soul, spiritual understanding, things like that. So there's a lot in the process of imagine this 1666 process, the amount of energy that was moved in order to bring about, a lot of people believing, that it was a good idea to, let's all, let's all just, I mean, every perverted act, I can go a list, and it became the thing you should do in order to become spiritual. It was the opposite of, this is a list of things you shouldn't do, So one of those is like, fasting. You should fast, and you should not feast, gluttony. You shouldn't feast too much, and maybe on a certain day you should fast, and maybe on a certain day you should not feast. And other days you think, well, if there's a party or a birthday or something like that, you would feast. But since it's a holy day, none of that comes up. You don't feast. So these are things we do to cleanse. Even though life happens, we choose to do the right thing that allows us to stay spiritual. Because we have a spiritual intention. And that's the purpose of the simplicity of the reality that God works in. We're not aware of the fact that God is a highly simple, it attributes everything to the relationship of God's grace. So everything in real truth is based on simplicity, extreme simplicity. So we are not aware of that simplicity because we have this process in our subconscious reality that comes from our previous lives. Like I said, imagine you're Jewish, you're in a Holocaust, and you're really, oh my God, they're after us, and now they're putting stars on us, and now they're dragging us in to be gassed and killed, and now they're persecuting us, and those words keep coming, because we think we know, and we don't know anything, and a process of our subconscious mind draws us to think those things that we know. So everything in healing is a process to invoke into a person certain formulas, in the process of spirituality. In masters, we do Om, we do mantrams, we do invocations of words and intention. With understanding behind the words. It's not a knowing situation. It is a faith. It's an intuition behind faith. So when you're moving with kindness, you beget kindness. Yeah. If your heart is full of kindness and you're doing a puja and you're saying something in terms of hoping kindness brings about into humanity, well, if you're not a kind person and you're doing the puja, the outcome will be nothing. Yeah. So your knowing only comes from your consistency. Yeah. And the changes you see in yourself that no longer carry those impurities. And that allows you to know. Only thing you know is that you're developing change that makes you more soulful. And then you get information that tells you about the soul that you are getting. And it takes you away from the dogma of all the cults that are from our past lives. We have no idea that, this 1666, even existed. Most people never even knew the name, never even heard of it. But imagine, over 1 million people went through that process, and they were all Jewish people, and they all went on for hundreds of years believing this bullshit. And they believed in a false Messiah, and they had to carry out anti-God behavior that would bring the Antichrist closer to the world and make them more persecuted in the world, more separate in the world. None of it bringing about any kind of peace or harmony. All of it happening through the reality that comes from us thinking we know.